Hey guys, Steve here from Top Guns out of Terre Haute, Indiana. We are live with the guys from spring break down in Florida that ended up getting robbed, or an attempted robbery anyway. And when we say robbery, we're not talking about somebody broke in their house. We're talking about somebody literally with a gun tried to rob you guys. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We're going to give everybody just a few minutes to log on here because we are live on two different networks. So we're going to give both networks a chance to log on. While we're doing that, we're just going to let these guys introduce themselves and tell just a little bit, not about the event, but for now, let's just talk a little bit about yourself. Go ahead and introduce yourself if you would.
I'm Alex Wisby. I was the driver, but I'm also a cultivation graduate, and I like growing plants. So.
Excellent. All right, next.
I'm Alex News. I was the red shirt guy. I'm sure you kind of missed me. I go to Indiana State for accounting. I'm a junior, about a year and a half left.
All right, next.
My name is Jacob Tanous. In the video, I was in a blue shirt. I'm from Terre Haute. I live in Florida now for the past few years.
Okay.
And then I'm Eric Wisby. I had the gun in the video, and I just go to school and trade stocks.
What are you majoring in?
Business.
Business, okay. All right, so we'll probably get more viewers hopping on. We are going to take questions, but before we take questions, we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what actually happened and what transpired. Before we start watching the video, in just a second, we're going to pull the video up and put it on your screen for the folks that are on YouTube. On Facebook, you're not going to get to see that just because it doesn't have the ability to superimpose that in that way. But for the guys on YouTube, you'll get to see the video and we'll dissect it as it goes. But we'll start off down at the end. If you would tell us your version of what you perceived happened.
So it was Alex's 21st birthday. We were at our room in Fort Lauderdale where we're staying. We were getting ready to figure out our plans for the night, how we were going to celebrate the 21st birthday. We went about, ended up at Club Story for the night. Ended up leaving there very early in the morning, around close to 3 a.m. And then we got back into Fort Lauderdale closer to about 3:40 a.m. That's when we pulled up to get gas. Me, Alec, and Jacob got out of the car. They were gonna go into the gas station, but we had ended up talking at the car about the night and Alec's birthday and kind of reminiscing on what we did that night. And then that's when the guy came up behind us with the gun. And then Jacob, he told us, he said, "Give me everything you have." Jacob then grabbed for the gun, which caused the guy to turn around as Jacob got thrown to the ground, and then that's when I came up behind, put him into a chokehold, got him down to the ground. Jacob and Eric are in there wrestling the gun away. Eric finally gets the gun, wrestles it away from the gunman, and then we called the police as they took off.
All right, so here's my first question for you guys. Show of hands, how many of you were drinking that evening? So you three all had been drinking.
Right.
And Alec, my understanding is you were pretty inebriated. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was drinking a little bit.
Yeah. So it was your 21st birthday.
Yeah.
You'd been out having a good time.
Yeah.
And at one point I was told that you weren't even, because I saw some posts on different social media that said, "Hey, why didn't you fight back?" But the reality was you didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, somewhat. I kind of knew what was going on, but it happened so quick, and
Yeah, especially when we've been drinking, things happen.
Yeah,
our minds aren't able to process and catch up as quick.
Yeah, I mean, whenever that all happens, best situation happened. If I would have done something, who knows?
Right.
My judgment wasn't the best at the time, so
Absolutely.
just trust the people around you that aren't as.
No doubt. No doubt. I actually applaud you for what you did do. If you're not in a position to. Because you feel you've been under the influence, then the best thing you can do is not get in the middle. I applaud you for what you did.
Yeah,
all right, so you had not been drinking. You were the designated driver.
Yeah.
All right, and you were asleep in the back seat?
I was asleep or passed out in the back seat, whichever one you would want to use. And yeah, it was like a crazy way to wake up. I mean, you're just there, and everybody is in kind of like a little fight, and you're like trying to figure out what's going on and everything. And you know, when there's 3 people hanging all over the gunman who walks up to you, there's not really much Alec could have really done with 3 people already wrapped around him. So I mean, that's another thing too.
Absolutely. All right, so let's pull up the video if we can for the folks that are on YouTube, and we're gonna let this play through just a little bit.
Okay.
And are they able to see what we're seeing at this point?
Yep.
All right. So for those of you that are on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and narrate this for the guys that are on Facebook. Here are the 3 guys. This is, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, Alec, and Jacob, right?
Yep.
Standing outside the car. All right, pause it for a second. And inside the car still is
In the back seat behind the passenger.
Eric.
Yep.
Okay. Now, we're seeing a gentleman run across right now, and what he's doing here, if we can back it up just a little bit. Now, most of the people who are watching our channels are familiar with firearms, but there may be a few people who are watching that are not familiar with firearms. So what it appears that he's doing here is chambering his firearm. Now, I later found out, go ahead and pause. I later found out from talking to one of you guys, I don't remember who it was, that he didn't get it chambered.
He did not.
And so his hand slips off, the gun's got a little bit of rust on it or something of that nature, and so he's not quite chambered yet. You guys don't know that. As far as you know, you've got a loaded gun pointed at you,
Right.
and should be treated accordingly. I mean, hell, he may not even know that he had one chambered.
Yeah.
So maybe he did have one chambered and he doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, his hand slips off here. He continues going, and he's getting ready to put the gun up to who?
Me.
Alec.
All right, and what's he doing? Is he sticking the gun where at?
Just about my rib.
Okay.
Probably, yeah, I mean,
Has it made contact or?
yeah, I made contact.
Okay. All right, and so now, we should also mention these 2 guys are brothers. These 2 guys are brothers, and these 2 brothers are cousins with these 2 brothers. All right, so we got 2 outside guys are brothers and cousins with the 2 inside guys who are also brothers. All right, so now Jacob, you can't tell because he's sitting down. Jacob, stand up for just a second. You're going to go off screen, but stand up for just a second. See how big this guy is. All right, what do you stand?
I'm about 6'4".
All right, so this guy's 6'4". He is absolutely one of the quietest guys I think I've ever met in my life. He doesn't talk too much, and so to see you kind of go turn into fighter mode here was a shock for me to see.
Yeah.
All right, so Jacob now is getting ready. You're seeing somebody that's kind of hurting your little brother. All right. So the struggle ensues. All right, Jacob has gone for the gun. Let's pause right there. Now, right here, obviously we've all reviewed this 1,000 times. Had he had a chambered gun, we are all grateful that Jacob is alive right now, and quite frankly, all of you are alive. But this was a bad situation that could have been a whole lot worse. And if you look, and I don't know if anybody's really dissected this portion of it for you. I want you to let this play. Can we play this in slow motion? Is that possible?
Oh, this is as slow as you can get.
It's as slow as you can. Okay. So if you look, it appears that he's trying to get that gun. Go ahead and pause again. It appears that he's trying to get this arm and this gun together. My guess is probably to chamber this firearm. He realizes he's kind of screwed at this point because he's got 3 guys fighting, or 2 guys at this point maybe. Are you out of the car yet?
No, I just got out of the car.
Just got out of the car.
I'm
Okay.
watching.
All right. So he looks like he's trying to get this up to where he can chamber it, and quite frankly, you got him in the chokehold, right?
Alex,
you got him in the
Alex,
chokehold,
Yeah.
and literally at the perfect time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally at the perfect time, because had he got those 2 hands together, who knows what comes next. All right, so let's let this go a little bit again. And now who's on him right now? Who's going to the
That's
ground?
Alex.
That's Alex. Me.
All right, that's Alex, and now goes to the ground with him. So the guy on the end, for those of you who cannot see it, is going to the ground with him. Jacob gets back on and starts hitting, and then pause. All right, and then Eric, is it Eric or Arik?
Eric.
But it's spelled Arik.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. All right. So Eric is now are you reaching for the gun at this point?
Yeah, I'm reaching for the gun, trying to kind of pin it up against the pavement so it's not into anybody's.
All right, so let's talk about this before we go further. You obviously have some gun knowledge right now. All right, you both, these two brothers on the outside, carry a gun sometimes.
Yes.
All right. And so you realize that, hey, we need to control the muzzle on this thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because my whole worry was when he went to the ground, you can kind of see his hand turn. He wanted to put the gun into Alex's torso because Alex had the best grip on him and had brought him to the ground. So my whole thing was the gun did not need to go off into Alex's torso.
Gotcha.
So
All right, now, fighting experience or just instincts kicked in and you grabbed him where you could?
I mean, my whole life, like since I was little, I've watched MMA. I've you name the fighter, I've watched them. I've gone on YouTube, broke their film down, watched their practices. I mean, I know how to do probably level 1 of MMA, I would say. But other than that, I mean, it was a little bit of instinct and a little bit of, just me constantly being involved, like going to the shadow boxing gym, things like that. Just, constantly prepping for a situation like this. I went to school at Ivy Tech for criminal justice my first couple of years there, and before I changed my major, and that's what they told me, like, in your mind, the best thing you can do before a situation like that happens is to run it through your head. Get it, think about what you would do. Because when that happens, you got to make those choices, and not necessarily do you make the right ones at that time.
Right.
So I've got a little bit of experience, but I think it's just basic common knowledge of how to control a muzzle, how to make sure a gun doesn't go off, or how to control someone's hands or body when you're trying to defuse a situation.
Okay. All right, so we're on the ground, we're rolling around. Again, back for those of you that can see this video, and I apologize, folks on Facebook can't see this. Let's go ahead and we'll continue narrating for the folks that can't see the video. All right, now what happened here? This guy, which is his accomplice, runs from his vehicle across the parking lot. Thank God this guy doesn't have a knife or another gun or whatever, because again, this could have turned south really, really quick.
Yeah.
Further than it's already, further south than it's already gone, if that's possible. All right, this guy pushes Jacob off.
yep.
All right, so Jacob's out of the fight for a minute, and then we have looks like
He's pushing on top of me right here to try and get me from grabbing onto the gun because he knew that's what I was going for, and that's what I had a hold of. And then Alex, thank God, switches his attention to the accomplice because I probably wouldn't have still had a hold of the gun if Alex doesn't let go and switches attention to the accomplice. Because, that was huge. Because, I'm down there, he's on top of my back trying to just reach in there and grab around, peel my hands off of the gun. And Alex switched his attention to him, kicked him off of him and created a bunch of distance, which is also huge in an altercation like this. And luckily the guy on the ground had been kind of weary from being hit and choked and whatever else happened to him.
I was probably about 5 seconds away from having that guy out completely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, so let's see here. So now we're at this point you've got.
I have the gun.
You have the gun.
And Alex is off to the side here with the altercation with the accomplice.
All right, so this is Alex, the guy on the end.
Yeah.
You are getting ready to square off with this guy. He's coming towards you, and you kind of take a few steps back. Let's go ahead and let this play out. Backing up.
I had no energy while this was going on.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was just trying
You're
to.
spent.
Yeah, there's actually there's trash cans right there, and there's fencing that covers that trash can. So what I was trying to do is get enough momentum going back into the fence to try and throw like a punch if he got anything close to me, because I really had no energy from being on the ground.
Gotcha. All right, so now here we are. You've got the gun. You've pointed it at him. Said,
I haven't pointed it at him yet. The guy's walking around the car now. The accomplice has already gotten into the car. The guy just walks around the car now, and then that's when I raise the gun when he starts walking towards me. Boom.
all right. So and at this point, you don't know that the gun's not chambered.
Well, I had chambered the gun.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, when I got the gun, I'd make sure it was loaded, and I had chambered the gun because when I figured out it wasn't loaded when I picked up the gun.
Gotcha.
And then I ended up chambering the gun, and I think that's why they knew not to, try anything or get the gun back and to just ask for it back instead of, trying to take it.
All right. So, and that's an important lesson that we teach in a lot of our defensive tactics classes and our empty hand classes. Is if you take possession of someone else's gun, the first thing you're going to do is tap the bottom of that magazine and rack the firearm just to make sure that
It's chambered.
you've got, hopefully you have a firearm that's in working condition. So, all right. And I think this is about where they're getting ready to take off. Let's go ahead and let it play out. So is this guy back in the car yet?
He's getting in the guy who pulled up with the gun is getting in the car, and the other guy, the accomplice, is inside the car already screaming for him to get in the car, and then they just take off. But I mean, I wasn't really thinking right here because they could have definitely used this car as a weapon, and they could have backed up right into me
Sure.
right here. So I mean, but
Oh, I mean,
took off.
and at that point, your adrenaline's spiked out. You're
Yeah.
nervous as hell.
Yeah,
You've got tunnel vision. You've got tunnel hearing.
it's crazy. A lot
And
of
you've
things
been
just
drinking.
running through your mind. Yeah, and I had been drinking. So I mean, the best way turned out possible. I mean, this was the least chance of, the best chance happened, and it was the least way of happening out of everything that could have happened or transpired.
Jacob, you got anything you want to add?
No, I think we about covered it all.
That's as much as you're going to hear from him.
Yeah, really, though.
All right, Alec, you got anything you want to add?
And I mean, they got it all, I think.
We're going to take some questions here. For those of you that are watching on either network, can we see Facebook's questions or not?
Technically, yeah.
So, can you just pull it up on your personal phone? And then for those of you that are on YouTube, feel free to go ahead and here, I can pull up the Facebook version of it. All right. So for those of you that have questions, feel free to send in your questions for these guys. For those of you that joined in late, let me just give you a quick recap. We're sitting here with the 4 guys that were robbed at gunpoint while on spring break down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Basically what happens, they pull up to a gas station to get gas, and there happened to be a couple guys there that were waiting for the right opportunity to walk up and rob somebody. Guy walks up, makes an attempt to rob them at gunpoint. These guys decided to fight back, and you can watch back on the previous portion of this video later to see exactly what transpired. And they ended up wrestling the gun away from the guy, and thank God these guys are all doing all right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything any of you would have done different? If you could go back and redo it.
Probably wouldn't stop for gas.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing. I mean, in a situation like that, you don't know what you're going to do before it even happens. So, like, I mean, it's hard to tell what you're going to do, and even everybody who's saying they would have done this or they would have done that, they don't know what they would have done. They could have just sat there and given them everything they have. I mean,
Sure.
that never came across my mind, and I don't know if it came across any of their minds, but, I mean, we kind of all had to make a decision, and it was a quick decision, the one that we made, and it worked out the best way possible.
All right, in the aftermath, my understanding is one of you boys went to the door to use the phone because your phones were dead.
Yep.
And I had called police, but I had went to get the address and everything.
That's what it was,
That's what
okay.
it was, but,
And they wouldn't let you in.
Right.
And his phone's on 1%.
So
like
it
the
could have
whole
died
time.
at any time. Yeah, and his phone was the only phone alive, and it's
I
all
lost my phone
1%.
an hour before that. Yeah, he lost
Wow.
his phone.
Yeah.
So
I mean, basically, what happened is he was on the phone with law enforcement, and he goes up to get the address. The clerk there turns us away. Actually, like literally, like barricades us from the door. He won't allow us to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually takes the officers to convince the clerk to let us come in for me to get a drink. Like I was so dehydrated from the whole thing. And
he shoot us away.
yeah.
Like, at the door. Like he took his hand and was like, "Get out of here."
I mean,
Wow.
the gas station, it was like, don't get me wrong, it was well lit, but looking back on it, like seeing video and stuff, there were bushes that covered it. You know, it's on the interstate. It shouldn't have been such a secluded area from, you know, the public. Like almost when you pull in, it's covered in bushes that kind of hide it away from everything. And, looking back on it, it was really weird. Just the way the clerk was, how long it took the manager to respond to law enforcement to get there to release security footage to law enforcement. I mean, the whole thing, the way they treated us, and just you know, it kind of just put a sour taste in our mouth for, you know, going our whole trip, just because, you know, we almost died, and
Right.
the another human being didn't even help us out. You know,
Right.
it's just,
He
it speaks
stated that he
volumes.
thought we were just playing around. Which, I mean, I don't understand how you could even have known that when there was stuff in the windows you probably couldn't even see outside.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Well, obviously, yeah. So, any pertinent questions come in so far from either network?
Someone asked if you're going back to spring break next year.
probably not to Florida, but it'll be another spring break.
Another person asked why you didn't shoot the guy in the kneecap to keep him there for the police.
All right, so there's a guy that whoever asked that question is probably not a guy that's handled guns a lot. So the question that came in, if you didn't hear it, somebody asked why you didn't shoot the guy in the kneecap while you waited for the police. Now the reality of that is, for those who have trained a substantial amount in firearms, shooting someone in the kneecap while they're moving and while you're moving and while your adrenaline spiked is going to be awfully darn hard to do. It'd be very hard to pull off in a controlled situation where you're not nervous at a small target at that distance, but now you put in the fact that your adrenaline is spiked, you're nervous, you're inebriated, you've got a moving threat, and on top of that, you might be moving a little bit. Shooting somebody in the kneecap's probably not an option. If you're going to shoot in that scenario, my opinion is you have to go center mass where you're giving yourself the best opportunity possible to eliminate or incapacitate the threat.
Right.
Additionally, if you do miss, you're in public, and so if you miss and that round goes somewhere, it's going to continue on until it hits something, and God forbid that something would be another innocent bystander. So there's no doubt in my mind he did exactly what he should have done in that situation, which is not pull that trigger unless he started
Right. Coming
towards you and was
Had
an
another
aggressor once
threat.
again. But as he's moving back, there's no question you did the right thing. Not to mention, whether morally you could justify it, I'm not sure that legally you could justify once they've stopped coming towards you and becoming the aggressor.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we at now? Any other questions?
Someone asked what the gun was.
All right, do you know what the gun was? I think I know what the gun was.
Yeah, it was a Taurus 9mm. They
All right.
said.
Yeah, that's what I had heard.
Stolen. It had like 6 or 7 rounds in the gun.
It was a grainy picture.
It was rusted, like kind of stainless steel. Long is like a little long barrel.
All right, my prediction it was based on the grainy video that I looked at. To me, it looked like it was a Taurus PT92, which is a Beretta 92 lookalike. I don't know that it was that. That's just my guess.
Definitely Taurus.
Yeah, they told us it was a
that's
9mm.
definitely. If it was a lookalike, it definitely might have been the gun because it was a lookalike. It looked like it had been.
The cops told us it was a 9mm. They first said it was a 45 caliber. They looked at the ammo and the ammunition, and then they said it was a 9 caliber.
Gotcha.
9mm.
Yeah. The I don't know how much you remember about the gun, but the 92 series is very distinct because the barrel is showing out. You can see the barrel. The slide is cut out on the top, so you can see the barrel in there. So that would tell you whether or not it was a 92. But all right, what else? Any other questions coming in? I think we
I'm
answered a lot
replaying
of
the
questions.
video again for people who are just
For people who are.
Someone asked if you're going to concealed carry more often now.
Now that I know, I can actually. I didn't actually know that I could register my pistol and then take it on the plane, like not on the plane, but my
Package
bag.
it underneath.
And
Check it.
I didn't know that, and now that I know that, it's that I'll be carrying wherever the state allows me. That state allows me.
Yeah, I
to.
believe it was John who we did the active.
Active self-protection.
Yeah, he
Yep.
actually had told us that Florida recognizes Indiana's handgun laws.
They absolutely
So
do.
we actually could have had our concealed carries on us then, and
Yeah.
we actually did not know that. He gave us a website to where you could check
Yep.
all of those, laws and rules on handguns and stuff like that, which is going to help us tremendously going forward since this whole situation had happened.
Absolutely, yeah. So there are several sites out there that help you out to find out whether or not the state reciprocates with your
Right.
state. And with Indiana, you can, if you're driving, you can literally go from Indiana straight down south through every state until you hit Florida, and your permit is or license is recognized. So,
Awesome.
all right, what else? Any other questions coming in?
Let me check again.
I've not looked on Facebook. Have you?
There's nothing on Facebook
Okay.
from what I've seen.
That's all of them for him.
All right.
That's all I know.
All right. What lessons did we learn? If you want, what's your primary takeaway from this scenario?
Honestly, I think that I need to be more aware of the gun laws. You know, I feel like if I would have had my sidearm, it'd been a whole different situation. I feel like I feel like it wouldn't even have gotten to the point Jacob grabbing the gun if I had had my sidearm. You know, me and a buddy went to the range every weekend for, you know, almost all my college days, and I go once a month now. So, you know, I'm very comfortable with, you know, using and operating a firearm when it's necessary. And if I would have had my sidearm, it would have been a totally different outcome, for
Okay.
sure.
What about you, Alec?
Man, I'd just say just being aware of your surroundings. I mean, obviously stuff like that can happen anytime, any place, but there's ways to kind of minimize the risk. So
Absolutely.
just kind of being aware of where you're at, and who you're with, I guess, and what's going around the area. I don't know.
Good points. Yeah, absolutely. Jacob?
Yeah, I would agree with what both of them said. You know, definitely be aware of your surroundings, especially like late at night. If you're going to like an ATM, gas station, anything like that, you know, definitely be extra aware of your surroundings.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they all made good points, and they didn't really leave me anything to. But, I mean, yeah, just be aware of your surroundings. Just always, you know, just be careful. I guess that's all you could really do. But I mean,
Get you a sidearm.
yeah,
Protect yourself.
know your gun laws. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, and again, since 3 of you were inebriated, I don't know that gun laws would have helped you 3. So.
That one down there, he probably would have been in control.
But he
all
might
along.
have, he might have had his firearm on him had he realized it was legal to do and
100% I would have.
possible to do, even
Yeah.
with airlines.
Right.
But anybody want to add anything?
No.
I just
Go to Top Guns. They sell the best guns.
Shameless
Amazing
plug.
range.
What's that?
That's a shameless plug.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Well, we will chat with y'all later. If you have any other questions, for those of you that are watching us at a later date, you can feel free to post them below. We'll try to monitor them a little bit, and we will get in touch with these guys and see if we can't get you an answer. So, thanks for watching as always. We'll talk to you all soon.